Look at Harvey this morning, and you can see the rain is still continuing to fall, particularly, as we mentioned, in southeast Texas, through Louisiana, heading up towards Arkansas, and we're also seeing that pushing towards Mississippi as well. Now, the expected track of this storm actually has a Canadian impact. It'll take until the weekend before we really start to see a possible impact from Harvey. This will be as it weekends into post-tropical storm status, but some of that moisture could funnel its way up towards southern Ontario. And that would happen late Saturday into early Sunday. So you can anticipate towards the back end of your long weekend, possible rain in southern Ontario. But this morning, that heaviest rain really is right around the Houston area, heading over towards Louisiana, and then between Franklin and New Orleans, we've got a couple bands of very heavy precipitation this morning. Also super windy as well. We're seeing max sustained winds with the tropical storm at 75 kilometers an hour. Highest rainfall totals right along the coastline, but even further north, all the way towards Memphis, we can anticipate the next couple of days seeing those amplified rainfall totals. Now we slide over to the east coast and we're watching potential tropical cyclone 10, which likely later today will become Irma as it reaches tropical storm status, and it has to move into warmer water to do so. This for sure has an impact on the Canadian forecast for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland as we head into about Thursday or so. The exact output of what will happen still a little bit early to say, but likely very windy into Thursday, and we could have rain just brushing the Nova Scotia coastline and then up towards Newfoundland as well. And that's the back end of your week. This morning, though, sunshine. Well, once the sun is higher up in the sky, clear sky, at least to start us off across the Atlantic provinces. A little more cloud as we're heading into Quebec and Ontario. For that Atlantic forecast, you can see temperatures are not bad whatsoever. 23 today in Charlottetown, 27 in Fredericton. It is still summer in many communities. Seasonal today as we're heading over to Quebec. We've got 25 in Quebec City, 23 through Sherbrooke, 25 in Montreal this afternoon with a mix of sun and cloud. Into Ontario, it's a little more unsettled. We've got fog north of Superior, so this includes Thunder Bay. Dense fog this morning is going to inhibit your visibility, particularly as you're heading out onto the road. Further south, we've got some rain, heavy rain right around the Windsor area, prompted flash flooding last evening. That continues this morning with a risk of thunderstorm as well. And pretty well west of Toronto through southwest Ontario, that's where the rain continues this morning. So make sure you bring along your umbrella just in case. Seasonal, if not slightly below this afternoon in Ontario. That's a look at Eastern Canada. Coming up, we've got heat warnings in the west. We'll detail that. For now, here's your local forecast. We're also watching the Canadian forecast very closely because into Thursday, Nova Scotia, particularly that Atlantic coastline, Newfoundland as well, we likely will be talking elevated winds and rain to end out your work week. But this morning, happy Tuesday, by the way, as you're about to head out the door, these temperatures are not bad whatsoever. In fact, we are seeing the hot spot in Canada in the interior of BC. Temperatures sitting in the low 20s this morning. 17 right now in the city of Toronto, 16 in Montreal, our nation's capital, at 12. Charlottetown, 9. It is a touch cooler for portions of Atlantic Canada this morning and feeling a bit dewy or misty and foggy because of that cooler air temperature. Now, here is what could be Irma. Right now, it's called potential tropical cyclone 10. It doesn't have a name just yet until it reaches that tropical cyclone status. But it's right off the coastline, and as we watch over the next couple of days as it moves its way out towards water, gathers some steam, and then in towards Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, begins to skirt that Atlantic coastline. Now, right now, the rain stays its way offshore, but any deviation towards the west, and we'll be talking significant rain right along pretty well Halifax up towards Cape Breton. This morning, though, sunglasses is what you need. Don't bring any rain gear. You can leave that at home for today. It is going to be a very nice day ahead for Atlantic Canada. In advance of what could be Irma, we do have those tropical cyclone statements, though. This is not about Harvey. As I mentioned, this is about what could come into your region end of week. Now, quiet in Quebec this morning, but into Ontario, we see our next headline, fog advisories for the Thunder Bay area. And then watching this continued rain in southwest Ontario, this brought flash flooding right around the Windsor area last evening as a band of rain just stayed really stationary over the region. But now we're starting to see more showers between about Windsor and then up towards the Hamilton area, you'll really want your umbrella with you as we just see that kind of linger through today. Our next big story in Ontario and Quebec is this cold front that sweeps its way through Wednesday evening into Thursday, and in behind that, much cooler conditions, bringing then a wet forecast into Thursday night for portions. Tropical storm Harvey, and you can see that there actually is a Canadian side to the story as we head into the weekend. We follow the track of Harvey. This is the margin of error, this cone that you see here. But if Harvey does track its way a little bit further north as it reaches post-tropical storm status, so it becomes an extratropical low, a low pressure system, could fuel moisture into southern Ontario. And that's into the weekend. So Saturday overnight into Sunday, we could be anticipating some extra moisture, some rainfall to round out our weekend as we head into holiday Monday. This morning, though, the heaviest rain still right around the Houston area, but extending all the way eastward through Louisiana, through Mississippi, portions of Alabama as well. And this will actually extend further north over the next couple of days. It takes a while, though. This is a slow-moving storm. This has been the biggest factor of Harvey over the last couple of days. It takes until Thursday morning before that storm really moves into the top of the boot in Louisiana and then tracks its way out, and that's when it will really lose its steam. So you'll hear me talk about Harvey tomorrow. You'll hear me talk about it into Thursday morning as well, and then the flooding will continue for several weeks, if not months after that. Atlantic Canada this morning, though, you are soaking up the sun. If it's not misty or foggy for you, it is going to be a beautiful day ahead with clear sky across the region. Generally pretty quiet into Quebec as well. Biggest impact into the Atlantic forecast, though, could be what potentially will be called Irma. It's on the eastern seaboard this morning. It is a potential tropical cyclone. We likely into Thursday will see it move up towards your region, which could amplify rain and wind as well. And there it is south of the border. Not quite tropical storm status yet, but that likely will happen later on tonight. Quebec, as I mentioned, variable cloudiness, and it's into Ontario where we start to see a little more active weather with rain and showers through the south, fog advisories in the north, but generally quiet otherwise. Eastern Canada, here's a look at your highs for today. Coming up, we've got details on the extreme heat in the west. If you're looking at these highs across the east and thinking, where's 30 degrees? I'll tell you, Canada, coming up in the next half hour. For now, it's over to Anne-Marie. We've actually got some of that heat in Canada, not quite 40, but we're talking about heat warnings this morning. We'll detail that right now here with your national weather forecast. If you're just waking up, good morning. Happy Tuesday. This is what you can encounter as you head out the door this morning. Generally pretty mild temperatures. The sun is shining in Atlantic Canada, and you'll need your shades right through the day today. But into the latter part of your week, you might be switching out the shades for rain gear. We're following what potentially will become Irma. It's unnamed right now because it is not technically a tropical cyclone yet. It's a disturbance just off the eastern seaboard. But as the day progresses today, we'll likely see a little more organization and tropical storm status reached for Irma. Right now it's called 10. Anyway, as we head through the week, as we hit about Wednesday afternoon, we start to see what will likely be Irma reach the southern coast of Nova Scotia and then move its way up to the northeast. And this will likely bring amplified winds for sure, and then possibly rainfall as well, depending on if Irma moves its way a little bit further west. So we've got some tropical cyclone statements. Otherwise, it's pretty quiet in eastern Canada. Sun for the Atlantic provinces, variable cloudiness through Quebec, a little more active weather in Ontario. We've got rain and mist and fog through the Waterloo region all the way towards Windsor this morning, and then fog this morning in Thunder Bay. Slide a little bit further out and you can see it's pretty quiet. Otherwise, for Western Canada, heat is the main story. Look at these daytime highs today. 33 in Lethbridge, 29 in Regina, 30 in Winnipeg, 28 in Dryden, Ontario. It is going to be a scorcher of a day, and that heat continues into the BC interior as well. Pretty quiet otherwise. We've got a few showers, but generally sun is the main story. Now, with that high pressure comes sinking air, so we're seeing air quality advisories continue in central Manitoba. The heat warnings in Alberta, 2 days or more of consecutive temperatures, 29 degrees above in the daytime will prompt a heat warning in Alberta, and that's the case, not just hot today, but hot tomorrow as well. And BC, we're still seeing that air quality advisory continue, obviously, because of smoke in the region. So that is a look specifically at Western Canada. Coming up, we'll detail more about Tropical Storm Harvey. For now, here's your local forecast. Western Canada, hey, good morning to our Atlantic provinces. Seasonal day ahead. We've got sun already this morning, and you can see that is persistent for New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Labrador, the eastern side of Quebec, right along the St. Lawrence. Then we hit some cloud as we move west of Quebec City. This cloud right along the Ontario-Quebec boundary. This is rather indicative of the Ontario forecast today. Depends on where you are. If you have the sun through eastern Ontario, enjoy it, because southwestern Ontario and up right around Lake Superior, a little bit more unsettled for the next couple of days. We're watching this front, and as this cold front moves its way, slowly slumping across Ontario and Quebec, it is going to bring not only rain with it, but also cooler temperatures in behind. This is the outlook for the wee hours of tomorrow morning. We'll follow it through Wednesday, sliding right across Quebec and Ontario, likely to see showers and thunderstorms with that passage. And in behind that, cooler air settles in, and we're talking temperatures midweek 5-6 degrees below seasonal. So big cool down ahead. This then moves its way into Atlantic Canada. New Brunswick, you can anticipate Thursday night, likely seeing some rain moving its way in. Now, conversely, Western Canada and the Western United States, it is much quieter. There's Harvey there, but look at the west. Nothing is happening. We've got dominant high pressure and very hot temperatures for the next several days. It's not until this frontal system moves through Wednesday midday in through BC that we see a cool down through British Columbia, and then eventually towards the end of the week into Alberta, and obviously continuing to dominate the weather forecast across North America. This is the expected track. Here's the cool thing. We will see cool, I guess, in terms of meteorology, but not necessarily cool in terms of rainfall. There is a Canadian impact to this story. Not until the weekend. This is as we head into Saturday night, early Sunday morning. We likely will see moisture fueling from Harvey in towards southern Ontario. And we're not talking the rain that they have south of the border by any means. It's just extra moisture that will mean for a rainier Sunday for your long weekend. The heaviest rain this morning, devastating rain, catastrophic rain, is south of the border right along the Gulf of Mexico, still right around Houston. Very windy as well. We're anticipating totals being close to about 50 inches of rain. That's 1.25 meters. Then on the eastern seaboard, we're following what will likely become Tropical Storm Irma as it moves its way up towards Atlantic Canada. This is Thursday morning, and you see it just skirting the coastline of Nova Scotia up towards Newfoundland. There are tropical cyclone statements in place because of this. Not quite a tropical storm yet. It's still a potential called 10, but if it does strengthen, it will become named Irma. And as I mentioned, into the latter end of your week, that's when we'll be talking about the impacts. So Environment Canada has issued those tropical cyclone statements in advance of that. Western Canada, pretty quiet, but a number of advisories. Smoke is an issue in central Manitoba. Heat. The heat is on in southern Alberta up to about 30 degrees today. And then BC air quality advisory still at play in your forecast for the interior. Canada, that's a look across your country. Now here's your local forecast.